Hold up, hold up. What I witnessed on Sportcenter this morning is going to completely blow your mind about where this Warriors roster is actually heading. And I'm not talking about some cautious optimism or wait-and-see approach here. This is full-blown championship roster construction happening in real time, the kind of strategic depth building that separates dynasties from pretenders. And when you see all the pieces laid out the way the ESPN panel broke it down, you realize we're watching something special come together right before our eyes. So I'm tuning into Sportcenter right as they're cutting to breaking news. And Woj drops this absolute bombshell that Gary Payton II and DeAnthony Melton are officially returning to Golden State. And the energy in that studio was electric. You could see it on everyone's faces. This wasn't just another veteran signing. This was the Bay Area reunion nobody saw coming, but everyone suddenly realized makes perfect sense. The panel immediately started connecting dots, pulling up footage from last season, and what emerged was this complete picture of organizational brilliance that honestly has me questioning whether any other team in the league is operating at this level right now. And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's my dream to reach 1,000 subscribers on the channel, and every single one of you helps me get closer to that goal. Let me break down what really went down during this Sportcenter coverage, because the surface-level Warriors sign some role players narrative completely misses the psychological and strategic warfare happening behind the scene. The broadcast was showing this incredible image of Steph Curry absolutely going off, celebrating in the camera, and there's DeAnthony Melton in the background during one of their big wins early last season, just taking it all in, clapping it up, genuinely happy to be part of something special. That image tells you everything about why he chose to come back, despite having other opportunities that might have offered more money or guaranteed minutes. Here's what the ESPN analysts were really diving into, and this is where the genius of Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s roster construction becomes apparent. When the Warriors went 12-3 to start last season, Steph and DeAnthony Melton looked like the best backcourt duo in the entire league. Not just good, not just solid, legitimately elite on both ends of the floor. The panel was showing defensive possession after defensive possession where Melton was disrupting everything, combined with offensive sequences where his three-point shooting and off-ball movement were creating advantages that opposing defenses simply couldn't account for. The specific game footage they highlighted was absolutely telling. Melton had hit this huge three-pointer down the stretch that cut the lead to 4 or 7 points, then immediately followed it up with a crucial steal, an outlet pass, and another three-ball from Steph that essentially sealed the game. The Sportcenter crew was emphasizing how these aren't just random highlights. This is the type of winning basketball that championship teams are built on. The hustle plays, the timely shooting, the defensive intensity that sparks offensive run. But here's where the analysis got really fascinating, and this is something the casual fan might not fully appreciate. The broadcast went deep into Melton's injury situation and what his health timeline looks like heading into the season. Nobody's entirely sure what his conditioning will be at the start of training camp, which is why guys like Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, or even Buddy Hield might fill that starting shooting guard role initially. But the long-term vision is clear. When Melton is healthy and integrated into this system, he gives the Warriors a defensive stopper who can also contribute offensively in ways that complement Steph perfectly. Gary Payton II's return became the next major storyline during the segment, and the panel's analysis of his evolving role was really insightful. They acknowledged that Payton has dealt with some inconsistency over the past couple of years, and his three-point shooting still isn't where you'd ideally want it to be from a two-guard at his height. But the Sportcenter crew was making this crucial point. As players age and lose a half step of athleticism, the question becomes whether they can still impact winning in other ways. Payton's answer has been an emphatic yes. The footage they showed of Payton's impact plays was absolutely wild. Offensive rebounds leading to putback, backdoor lobs off pick and rolls, defensive possessions where his scrappiness completely disrupted opponents' rhythm. The analysts were saying that while Payton might not be playing heavy minutes anymore, he's perfect for these load-managed stretches where he comes in, provides a defensive spark, crashes the offensive glass, and gives the team exactly what they need in short bursts. That's championship depth right there. Alex Tui, signing a two-way contract, became another layer of intrigue during the broadcast, and this shows how the Warriors are thinking about every roster spot with strategic purpose. The 52nd pick in the draft getting a two-way deal alongside Will Richard means the Warriors are maintaining that pipeline of young talent while building for immediate championship contention. The panel was explaining how rare it is to see organizations balance present and future this effectively, but Golden State has somehow figured out the formula. The roster construction breakdown that followed was absolutely fascinating, and this is where Sportcenter really earned their money with the analysis. They put up this graphic showing the full 15-man roster as it currently stands, and when you see all the names together, the depth is actually kind of staggering. The projected starting five of Steph, someone at the 2, Melton, Moody, Buddy, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, and Al Horford immediately jumps off the screen. Those 4 locks, Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, and Horford, form an absolutely elite defensive core with championship experience and basketball IQ. But then you move down to the bench unit. And this is where things get really interesting from a strategic standpoint. The broadcast was going through each player and their potential role. Podziemski bringing youth and shooting, Buddy Hield providing instant offense, DeAnthony Melton offering elite perimeter defense, Quinton Post as the developmental big man, Gui Santos with his versatility, Will Richards' upside, Gary Payton's hustle, Trace Jackson-Davis as the athletic rim runner, and potentially Jonathan Kuminga if that situation gets resolved. Here's where the Sportcenter panel started identifying potential concerns, though. And I thought this was really smart analysis that goes beyond just cheerleading for the Warriors. They kept coming back to this glaring issue at the wing positions, the 3 and 4 spots. If Kuminga doesn't return, there's a legitimate gap in terms of size, athleticism, and defensive versatility at those positions. The Warriors would have a ton of guard play, a ton of shooting, plenty of centers, but that wing depth becomes questionable. The analysts were breaking down each potential option to fill those minutes. Jimmy Butler can guard 4s defensively, but doesn't have quite the athleticism or offensive dynamism at that spot anymore given his age. Moses Moody has tried playing the 4 in the past with mixed results. Gui Santos is undersized for that role. Will Richard brings a different skill set, but probably won't see consistent minutes this year, given the roster depth. So if Kuminga walks, that becomes a legitimate concern for a team with championship aspirations. The rebounding discussion became another major talking point, and the panel did a great job connecting this to the broader roster construction question. DeAnthony Melton, Gary Payton, and Gui Santos are all fantastic rebounding guards and small forwards, but when Draymond and Al Horford aren't in the game, there's legitimate concern about getting dominated on the glass by bigger, more physical teams. The broadcast showed that specific clip of Melton pulling down 10 rebounds from the 2-guard spot, and the analysts were saying if they can get that kind of commitment from multiple guys, it mitigates the size concern. But here's the million-dollar question that dominated the rest of the segment, and Stephen A. Smith was particularly fired up about this. Is this roster better than the Lakers? Is it better than the Clippers? Is it better than the Suns? The panel was split on this, with some arguing that the Warriors' starting 5 and top 8 rotation matches up with anyone in the West, while others questioned whether they have enough star power and athleticism to truly compete with the elite teams. The media day hype became the perfect crescendo for the entire segment, and you could feel the energy building as they talked about what's coming next. The Sportcenter crew was saying, "This is the most exciting Warriors media day in years, for several specific reasons. First, seeing Al Horford in a Warriors uniform is something nobody predicted just months ago, and it represents a level of organizational prestige where championship-caliber veterans are choosing Golden State specifically. Second, this might be the deepest bench the Warriors have had since their dynasty years, with legitimate rotation players 8 or 9 deep who can all contribute to winning basketball. Third, and this is what really had the panel excited, the rotation possibilities are absolutely fascinating from a basketball nerd perspective. How does Steve Kerr manage minutes for all these guys? Where does Quinton Post fit now that Horford is starting? How does Gary Payton's role evolve? Does Gui Santos carve out consistent playing time? These are the kinds of questions that make the beginning of a season compelling beyond just wins and losses. The age discussion became a fascinating subplot during the broadcast, and the analysts were making this point about how the starting five might average around 36 years old if you go with Steph, Buddy, Jimmy, Draymond, and Horford. That's an old group by any standard, which means you absolutely need young legs coming off the bench. But here's what's brilliant about the Warriors' construction. They have exactly that with Podziemski, Moody, and Melton, providing youth, athleticism, and energy in reserve. The shooting depth comparison was another highlight of the segment, and one analyst made this claim that really stuck with me. This might be the most shooting talent the Warriors have had on one roster since 2018. Even in 2022, when they won the championship with Poole, Clay, and Wiggins, the overall depth of three-point threats wasn't quite at this level. The broadcast was projecting that this team is going to shoot the lights out on a nightly basis. And when you look at the personnel, it's hard to argue against that assessment. That's what went down on Sportcenter this morning. And honestly, Media Day can't get here fast enough. The Warriors have quietly assembled something special while everyone was focused on the drama in LA and Phoenix. This roster has championship potential written all over it, and the entire league better take notice, because Golden State isn't just trying to make noise. They're legitimately building for another title run.